I'm Dr. Liz Stafford, and this is Primary Music in Conversation. This episode of Primary Music in Conversation is proudly sponsored by the National Youth Choir. National Youth Choir offers extraordinary singing opportunities to young people across the UK. They are excited to announce Supercharge, a brand new set of fun, free and easy to use digital resources for primary teachers to help you get everyone singing. To learn more and access these free resources for primary music teachers and choir leaders, visit nationalyouthchoir.org.uk/supercharge. My guest for this final episode in Season 3 is Claire Gower from St Margaret's Primary School in Suffolk. Claire's school has extraordinary cultural diversity. There are over 40 languages spoken at the school, and she's worked really hard to try and integrate that into her curriculum so that it's fully culturally diverse and representative of the communities that exist within the school. She also has an orchestra, which is quite exciting for a primary school, so I'm really looking forward to talking to her about all of those things and more. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome, Claire, to Primary Music in Conversation. Could you please just introduce yourself for our listeners?
Hello everyone. Thank you, Liz, for inviting me. My name is Claire. I'm a primary school teacher, but with a bit of a sort of varied past. I started out actually as a VMT, and I had my own private practice and worked for an opera company, and trained as a singer. Decided that life wasn't quite for me, but I still love my singing. So I started off there. I then thought, actually, I want to do more and give more back. So I trained in primary. I then did some work in high school. I then went back to primary thinking high school's good, but I really love working with the little ones. And I've been here ever since. And music's been part of that journey. So I class myself as, that I've got that experience from all parts of the profession, and I still teach singing now as a VMT in one school. So I feel like I've been in every role, and I sing all the time as my hobby as well. So it's just part of me and part of my life.
We're like career twins. That sounds almost identical to what I did. There's a lot of us floating around us like ex-singers, recovering singers, who found our way into primary music. And you've got a slightly different title, haven't you, for your job than some of the people we've spoken to on the podcast?
Yeah, I was brought in just after COVID. I was approached by the school, and they said the school has got a really strong musical history, but COVID had just dampened everything, and the school felt they really hadn't got themselves back on track. So they asked me to come in, and they said, "Will you be our music enhancement lead?" Which basically means that could I bring enrichment through music and creative arts to the school. So we're primarily music and performing arts, but with the idea that we can broaden that in. And I'm really lucky that I am able to shape that in any way I see that is best for the children here. It's a very rewarding job, and I'm really lucky that I have that flexibility and the faith of the senior leadership team to ask me and bring me in to do this job.
Oh, it sounds exciting. Let's get into it. So, how much of your role is like curriculum? How much of that do you deliver yourself, and how much of it is extracurricular? What's the kind of the split of your role?
Yeah, the ratio is mostly, I'd say, it's about 80% curriculum teaching. I teach most of the music across the school. It's probably a little less than 80, maybe about 70, because part of my role is also as a faith school for us to develop our link with our local church and the community. So part of my role is to really involve the school in a lot of community engagement as well. To my role, I teach most of the year groups, but not all. I have a colleague who teaches brilliantly well, Then our extracurricular offer is broad. We buy in from the county music service, who are excellent in our area, with some great tutors. So we have around about 120 children having instrumental music lessons actually in school out of a cohort of 240. So yeah, half our Key Stage 2 children.
Wow.
And that's weekly, obviously. There are others who have lessons outside school. I have a real thing about that children sometimes get missed, those ones who might, they quietly learn the piano at home, tell you very much. So I always do like the beginning of every school year and say, right, let's talk about our creativity. So because we know lots of the boys and girls are in football teams, but what about you? Do you go to dance classes? Do you do stagecoach? Do you do theatre training? Do you play the piano? What do you do outside school, inside school? So we really embrace it all. And those children really give us a huge amount of additional support we can utilize with our extracurricular, and we encourage. So we've got that. We also have 2 choirs, one training choir for years 2 and 3 initially, and then we invite year 1 to come and join us when they've settled a little into the year, halfway through the year. So they'll be joining us after half term. And the year 3s are their ambassadors. They look after them. And then they're allowed to join our senior choir, which is years 4 to 6, when they join year 4. And they feel that privilege that they can join. So we've a strong musical heart to our school. The children absolutely love singing. And the choir is, or both of them are open to anybody to join. And we have regularly around 41, I think. And then our orchestra is for those children, as soon as they can play open strings, or like 5 notes on their brass instruments, their embouchure is okay on their woodwind, so they can manage, they've got some stamina, then they're invited to join. So, and that's growing all the time. In my previous school, we had an orchestra of 47 children, which was vast, and I actually had to split it up because the brass was so loud that the wind used to say to me, "Can they please go somewhere else?" So we ended up splitting it, practicing in sections. But yeah, I'm aiming for that again here. So and I think we'll get there. So that's lovely.
So when you say orchestra, is it like a traditional orchestra, orchestral instruments, or is it, have you got like random things in there like guitars? I mean, I know technically guitars can be an orchestra, but not really.
Yeah. No, I do. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I do keep it traditional. But then we've also got options for the guitarists to have a little ensemble on their own. And we teach recorder in the school. I'm an advocate of recorder. I think it's so important. I know it's not so trendy anymore, but genuinely the children absolutely love it. And then we can create little recorded consorts, and we've got all the different sizes. It used to be a big thing here at the school as well many years ago. So we sort of dib in and create these little mini ensembles as well, just to allow those children who've got that interest to do something. But there's always more you can do, always more. And I think for us, we just look at the cohort and see what's the best thing for these children at this time. So because with music, our job is always evolving. It's never static. We don't have a standalone curriculum in terms of, there is always so much more you can do, and different performances you can do every year. And although interestingly, I had a conversation with somebody recently who said about when we do our nativity, and I'm sure most listeners would agree that when we put on a nativity play with your Key Stage 1, it's nearly always a new one every year. And it might be that you go through a cycle, 3 or 4, and come back to that one again. But there's always something different. Whereas this person had said they tried it where they did the same one 2 years in a row. And it was basically to reduce the cognitive load on both children and staff. And the year 1 children who had been doing the singing when they were in year 2 had their sort of leading roles. They knew everything. So it was actually so helpful. They've all found it a much more relaxed experience. And I just thought actually there's nothing wrong with that. It's a really sensible thing, because we do put so much pressure on children. The amount of curriculum that they need to learn in all subjects, and maybe we need to strip back a little bit and give them, we all know how overloaded we feel if we have too much work, but that cognitive load is such an important aspect now that we're all thinking about, I think, within our role.
And I think that applies to things like choirs as well, doesn't it? We often feel like we've got to be constantly learning new things, but actually there's real value in just singing something that you know really well, that you're really relaxed with, that you can then work on the performance and the communication. There's always ways to improve things and to make them more challenging and to make them, elevate them without actually having to physically learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it could be as simple as a staging change, couldn't it? You've and also that then brings in the muscle memory, because we're teaching children to be adaptable, but also that their muscle memory will help them. If they're sent a stage when they sing one part, they will know their words. I really like to not use the music when we are performing for the choirs. I wouldn't expect the orchestra to do that. It'd be a bit mean, but, but although they're doing the Rite of Spring at the minute. I've given them the challenge, and the little.
Wait a minute. What? They're doing the Rite of Spring.
They are the finale for the Rite of Spring. Yeah. I know, you've got to chuck them into the deep end. And I've had 3 new violinists join today. They were ready to join. I was like, okay, well, I said to everybody, right, we're going to do something really simple today. We've had rehearsal before school today. We're going to do something really simple today, just to let them gently in. And then said to these 3 children, right, after this, we've got something a little bit challenging, but don't worry, you'll be fine. So anyway, they were fine. They were great. So they're tremolo at the end, and they're straight. They're loving that. The violinists, because they've learned a new skill, and they're so good. It's going to be so good. We've got about halfway through, and we're doing really well. So.
And so where are you finding like these arrangements, and are you having to do a lot of adaptation yourself to make them fit with the skills that you've got in your orchestra?
I'm home allowed to do plugs. I don't know. This is BBC 10 pieces.
Yeah.
Which are brilliant, because that you can go into the units, and they have got the orchestral parts. I have tweaked some bits because there are some sections where they're not playing for a while. The strings have got like 40 bars rest, and so I've given them a little bit of extra, and I've adapted something for the clarinetist too, because you will always find children they're at so many different levels when they start. But the BBC 10 pieces are really good, because you can dib in and choose different parts for your ability levels. So yeah, that's where I've got that one from. I can't take any credit for that. But I do often arrange pieces. We're also going to do the Tallis Canon soon. And I think that would be a lovely piece to also sing with the choir. I've had a dancers and orchestra and choir perform all together before. And it's just beautiful, because you get the whole school. So back to our clubs, we run those before school. We find the children are fresh, they come in, they're ready to learn. They're ready to go. We have lots of fun together. We did some creative music this morning as well. We used our names. Sorry, stop me if I'm going on too much. Because we used our names, and we did like experimental music. So if they had with 2 syllables, it needs to be a long rhythm, just nicely drawn out. If they had more than 2 syllables, then it's a quick rhythm, and they could play that up to 4 times. It needs to start very quietly. So we're practicing that pianissimo through to forte for the end of the Rite of Spring, and then I brought them off at the same time, and we started it off by just doing a little click with our mouths to it, as if it was raining. So we're all going at different random times, and then they all sort of started coming in, and it was just beautiful. It was just obviously completely random, but they created this really lovely effect. And then we all stopped, and then we started proper rehearsal. So we have lots of fun.
Wow. That's so lovely, because often ensembles it's all just about learning other people's music, and it's really nice to hear that actually you've got that creativity within that setting as well.
Yeah, I mean, they really enjoy it, and I think it gives them a bit of freedom. And also for those new children, it was an icebreaker for them as well, that this wasn't a scary place they're suddenly having to look at a piece of music. And it also lets them, hopefully they'll go home and they'll experiment a little bit at home with the different sounds they can make. Um, it's all good fun.
So obviously loads of extracurricular stuff happening. I'm interested in your curriculum because I know that you have a very kind of culturally diverse school population, and that's reflected in your music curriculum as well, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes, so we do use some off-the-shelf schemes, but we've also created some bespoke units as well because we have 40 different languages spoken at our school. We are a faith school, but we are very multicultural, and we really value and embrace our diversity. We feel like it's a real strength of our school. But with that in mind, we looked at the curriculum, and we were, well, we could really make the most of our children of different faith or different language, our EAL children, and bring what they have in their heritage into our curriculum as well. So, for example, we do a unit on folk music, and if anybody wants a really good scheme, there's a great one made by Britain Peers Arts on folk music. That's fantastic. But we've sort of used that as a starting point, and then done a bit of a history unit with the children about where does it come from, why do we have this folk music, why does it exist, why is it different in different parts of the country and the world. So they've looked at British folk music, but then because in a couple of years at the minute we've got quite a strong Romanian cohort, we've asked those children to share their cultural heritage with us. And that's been really wonderful that they've then taught a couple of pieces of music. And actually, my colleague has gone further than that. She came to me last week and she said, "Oh, I found this really experimental orchestral version of the piece that they taught us, and I'm going to show them, and we're going to do this with it and that with it, and it's just lovely." It's really really special. That whole enrichment. For them, they'll remember it. That's the point, is that we want them to have fun, but we want it to be memorable. We also want it to have that cultural significance. Cultural capital is really important in our schools, and for us to show each other our something from our own heritage is really special, really important.
And so how do you, when you're kind of trying to work that all into the curriculum, how do you, and you said you were using like different bits of different schemes and things, how do you maintain the progression and the sequencing? Is that quite challenging, or does it sort of work quite naturally?
Yeah, it does seem to just be fairly organic, actually. I think we've got a base frame, and we know what we want to achieve or we should be achieving in each year group. And like everybody's music curriculum, we build on each year on year. We add new vocabulary, we add new notation, etc. So those things are being brought in and embedded at the same time. We do a project in year 3 with English National Opera, and that one again I do a load of revisiting of the dimensions of music through that, and at the beginning, and then the children with that project can bring their own instruments in, and we do some composing together, and we use our voices to compose vocalized sounds rather than words, but we then use their instruments as part of that process of creating this. I'm not making myself very clear here. You create a color essentially, and you paint a picture of color through music, which is really lovely. So we're building on those blocks each year within the curriculum, but adding these other things in just essentially to enrich that experience and the delivery of the subject.
So with your curriculum being quite bespoke, I suppose, I've been talking a lot this season because it sort of coincided with us finding out about the curriculum review and who's going to be
Yeah.
writing the new curriculum, all that stuff. Have you got sort of thoughts about how you would like to see the new national curriculum, what you would like to see it look like, so that you can still do all the things that you do, and so that other schools can maybe have a little go at kind of doing the sort of that very kind of embedded into the life of the school kind of cultural approach to the curriculum?
Yeah, I do think that it needs to it does need to reflect the fact that um, we all live in different parts of the country, and it would be really nice that for there to be a heritage element to it, because things like the history curriculum was changed hugely to now be very much focused on the progression of where we all come from, from the Stone Age right through. And it was very different years ago. And that's really good because that really gives children a timeline. I also love the fact that I'm very much into cross-curricular learning. So things that have happened in history, I think it's really important for that link to be made. Our year sixes, for example, I always insist that we have around remembrance that they listen to Aaron Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man,
Mm-hmm.
and reflect. I think another bit would be a reflection, because I think if reflecting on your practice is really important and on what exists already. So those children in year six will listen to it and think about the impact of that piece. The fact that there's the visualization, the color painting, the musical painting of portraying the bombs going off, the cannons firing, and so on. And really making them think about, well, why was that written? What purpose was there? And how do I feel? What's my connection to that music? So, yeah, I think we need more of that reflection, self-reflection, and
Mm.
again, it's all about that cognitive load, allowing to be in the curriculum the time as well for us to ask the children to reflect on practice their own composition. What could you do better? We want the children to be adaptable learners and adaptable in life, and those are really important skills. We can give that through music as well.
I totally agree, and I think the way you describe sort of the listening activities there, I think that's really important, and I think that is perhaps where we could do with a bit more of a steer in the curriculum, because I think everyone thinks
Yeah,
they know how to teach listening, but what
yeah,
it actually says in the curriculum and in the model music curriculum, which
yeah,
obviously is kind of by the by now because we're getting a new one, both of those, but the wording and the approach very much like you need to listen to lots of music, but not actually
yes,
how you listen and how you develop the skill of
absolutely.
listening. And that's
Yeah,
the important bit, isn't it? And I think schools
yeah,
have done a really good job of doing things like, oh, we've got composer of the week or artist of the week, and we're listening to all these different types of music,
yes,
but it's the next stage that's really important, the discussing it, the analysing it, the learning to sort of recognise musical features through your ears, and because
yes,
you need all of
exactly.
that in order to be able to create your own music and in order to be able to perform other people's music effectively and
Yes.
expressively.
Yeah, definitely. No, I really like that sort of thing, and so we do quite a bit in year five. So things like the Hall of the Mountain King, that's a
Mhm.
wonderful piece to do for the listening activity. So I often I'll get the children to have a page. We have a music book. Not all schools keep a written record, but we do have a music book which we don't use very often, but we do for things like this. So we will have a listening activity for a couple of weeks, and we'll listen to in the Hall of the Mountain King, for example. And I ask the children to think about the story. So again, as a folklore story. So we talk about the story behind it, about the composer. We write down a couple of facts about the composer. We then listen to it and then talk about our what impression we got from it, and well, how did it make you feel? Then what instruments can you hear? And how is the composer? How has he made it sound like it? There's that urgency to get out of the mountain, and because then we can bring in tempo. We can bring in dynamics, we bring in all those interrelated dimensions of music. So they're really thinking about the whole piece. And then there's this amazing, I always finish off with a bit of a body percussion to it. There's this amazing group, and I can't remember their name. I think they're Italian, and they do this absolutely fabulous body percussion to In the Hall of the Mountain King. And it's amazing. It's such good fun. But again, it embeds that tune, that melody to the children, and they've got that memory of doing something physical with it as well. So, I mean, you're just getting all the senses involved. It's just good.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And so the other thing I'm interested in is, because you've got basically half your school population learning instruments, how does that impact on the curriculum? Does it impact on the curriculum? What are you doing in terms of sort of instrumental learning within the curriculum? And are there any links to what's going on with extracurricular in that regard?
Yes. So I always focus. I mean, I've spoken to a few colleagues, and some people do it quite differently and get great success from it. But I always stick with percussion and tune percussion in Key Stage 1. And I used to do recorder in year 3, but I found that the children's dexterity wasn't quite there, and they would get limited success. Some of them would do really well, but some would have limited success. So I've switched to ukulele in year 3, which is easier for them to hold. And they're not going to get as much from it. But this is as curriculum music now. Sorry. So we don't do it all year. We will do it for like a half a term, and then we do something else. But like with this ENO project now, because we did ukulele before Christmas, the year 3s can all now say, well, I can play an instrument, so they can use that in their composition. So nobody is without. We do obviously have class percussion as well. And then in year 4, we do recorder, and I found that they make such good progress. Where now I link that into learning about Tudor music, because the Renaissance, sorry, I should say the right term, Renaissance music. And then we've done some Tudor dance with it, and done some sword dancing and everything with a load of drumsticks. We're doing our sword dance. So, and then in year 5 we do some keyboard, but I tend to do that for little chunks, and then we focus on learning about chords through learning the keyboard. And then by year 6 they're doing a lot. Obviously year 6 has got a lot of pressure on it within the rest of the curriculum, so we tend to keep to music on music technology in our year 6s. They do that a lot more, and because they have their very big production at the end of the year, as most schools do. So you've got a mixture across the year groups. Some schools I know like to stick to an instrument. They find that if they keep going, that the children really do make fantastic progress if they do it for a longer period of time. And I don't know, Liz, if there is, what your feeling is on that. Whether dipping into an instrument for a certain amount of time is better than staying on one for a longer period. I think it's an open-ended one, isn't it?
I think it's what you've got to have the balance, haven't you? You've got to get the sweet spot so that there is variety, but also there's that kind of longevity and progression. And I always think, if you pick just one instrument, if you've got a child or children, more likely, who just can't play that instrument, that's going to be 6 or 7 years of frustration and annoyance, and I'm not musical, I'm not a musician. But also, if you chop and change instruments every single year or every single term, you're not building the kind of skills that you need. So it's somewhere in the middle. So I suppose the most successful models that I've seen have been where there's been a sort of 2-year focus on each instrument, and where they've chosen to have that sort of linked in some way. So sometimes, it would start with the recorder and then it would go into woodwind. I mean, I know the recorder's woodwind, but orchestral woodwind. Or it would start with glockenspiels and then go into keyboards, where so you're still using the kind of similar kind of skills, but getting the appreciation of a different instrument. But I think it's one of those things, isn't it, in schools, that you want to give children all these experiences, and if you're not careful, the giving them of all the experiences
Yeah,
kind of dilutes the actual learning
absolutely.
and
Yes,
the
definitely.
progression. So it is a tricky one
Yeah,
to manage, I
it's a
think.
tricky one. Yeah, I think I'm still working on that one. The yeah, but it's yeah, it's something to consider. That definitely is a very good point about the moving from the recorder into the woodwind. One reason we do the recorder is because then we can say to our cohort, no, you can have instrumental lessons on these instruments, and we have, obviously do have a good uptake. So yeah,
Mm.
but I think if we do anything, it's good, isn't it? So
Well, yes, yeah. This and that's my attitude to anything to do with music in primary schools, especially, sometimes I talk to people who are snotty about like schemes, music schemes,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm like, but if the alternative is no music,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
actually schemes are great if you use them in the right way. Where schemes go
Yes,
wrong is when you don't engage with them fully and you don't read all the instructions and you just expect it
yeah,
to teach it for you. That's where they
yeah,
go wrong. But even
absolutely,
that is better than no music.
and
So,
absolutely.
let's be sensible.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I'm
I
just
do think
wondering.
that. Yeah, sorry, after you.
Oh, no, 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 go on. Finish
I was
your
just going
thought.
to say, I do think that a lot of the smaller schools do struggle to
Mm,
provide. I was talking to a colleague the other day about this, and who's in a very small school, and they just haven't got enough staff to be able to do everything. To do, for them to feel that they can do it well, they haven't got a music specialist. They haven't got somebody who feels confident to teach music. So it is tricky. Yeah, I always think those singing is free. Everybody can do it,
mhm.
and um, if you even if you don't sing very well yourself, having a good old sing song in assembly, you can't beat it, can you? That's
Absolutely.
and and music's all about improving our well-being. It just makes such a difference to your day, um,
Yeah.
for all of us. So
Yes, totally agree. Um, Another thing that occurred to me was, because you've got all these children having instrumental lessons, does that mean that that's having an impact on the kind of notation reading aspect of the curriculum? Do you feel like they're all leaving you like with quite good music
yeah,
reading skills because of all of that?
yes, yes, I think they do. Yeah, and I cover it in class curriculum music as well. Um, and yeah, they are good. They're really, yes. I trained in Kadai as well. So when I strip it right back for the younger ones and just use we take the note head off and just use the shape, of the notation, and then we bring the note head back in later, and they really understand it. They really get the concept of the fact that we do need to count our rests. It's so funny, isn't it? Children always say it. Oh, that's when you stop. No, 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 you actually don't stop. You keep counting. You just don't make a sound, and they find it very hard. It's very hard to understand that concept. Um, but we had a maths day last week, and so I did musical maths all day. It was great. So we did musical maths by, on our whiteboards, adding up the notation,
Mhm.
and I put in a minus sign in there every now and again just to throw them off the scent, and they had to draw me the note itself as the answer. But then you're adding in some semiquavers into that, and get them to think about the note values and about how we need to be always one whole, and they love it doing the old musical maths. And then we talked about composers who use mathematical process, and then about pentatonic scales. And yes, I mean there's just so much you can do, that engages. I think they've just got to be engaged, be having fun,
Mm.
and then they'll learn it. They'll just learn the process. But going back to notation, yeah, by our year six, the children, well, even before then, they are confident in their notation. And I really, even as a singing teacher, I will give my students the music. I don't give them word sheets. I
Mm.
know you may not read music, but you can see the patterns. There are patterns everywhere, and look at the shape and look at the phrasing. And they may not be able to read it, but they can see how it flows. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree, and I do exactly the same thing as
Yeah,
well. And with my choirs as well, yeah, even little children. No, we're going to read off the
yeah,
music because
yeah,
even if you can just understand the kind of orientation process of the music and the
exactly.
layout of the music,
Yeah,
without actually understanding any of the dots, well, that's the first stage, isn't it? That's the
yes,
first stage of feeling
absolutely.
confident about how music works
Yeah,
or how notation
totally.
works.
Yeah,
Very challenging when your only instrument is the voice. I think to learn, particularly pitch notation. I think that's really
yeah,
really tricky
yeah.
without instrumental resources.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
One thing my choir are doing, we've got our biggest gig coming up. We've got to provide 25 minutes of music for a Sunday concert. So that's a lot for young children. But we
mm,
are starting it with a very simple piece of medieval music. And I've shown them how the medieval music looks. So they're looking at the blocks rather than, as it's not written as formal, our formal notation. Um, but they can see the distance. So they can see that the notes are quite far apart. And then
hmm
I can sing that to them, and they'll sing it back. And then noticing that, the quavers, essentially, that's what would be quavers now, are the ones that are being put close together. And so they're still, I've said to them the other day, you're reading music. And this is old music, but you are reading this as you sing it because you're following that pattern. And they sing it beautifully, actually. So we're going to start our concert with that. It'll be really nicely ethereal in the church. So
Oh, that sounds lovely. I think plain song's more intuitive than actual staff notation, actually.
oh
I
yeah,
think,
definitely.
once you're in that sound world, I suppose because it's modal and it's kind of, there's a limited number of options, I find it
Yes,
much easier to
yes,
sight read my way through a bit of plain song than
yes.
I
Oh,
do a bit of
definitely.
real music these days.
Yeah. We had a chat then about it's Gregorian chant that this short piece is Gregorian chant, and about the link with Pope Gregory, and that's why it's called Gregorian chant. So you're drip feeding these bits of history in as well. Um, Hopefully I might test them tomorrow. Who remembers? Who remembers what I said? And then I'll find out if I'm correct with my drip feeding or not.
So I imagine that secondary teachers in the schools that you feed into are absolutely delighted to meet your students because they are coming up with such a good kind of musical grounding. Do you have many transition links with secondary or?
Not at the moment. That's something I have been working on with the schools, with the local one, and we were going to do a project last summer together. But their timings just didn't fit. But the plan is to do that this summer, so that our year six musicians will join with some of their musicians, and then we'll do something together. So that then provides that link for our children. They'll have met some of those musicians. I think it's a really important part of the transition is that we don't lose our musicians, our year six musicians, once they go to high school. So we've got a meeting coming up next term for the heads of music from the local states high schools and the primary school feeders, and with the view that we have this chat about can we go forward, how can we best offer transition, because the cost of instrumental lessons tends to go up quite a lot when children go into high school, and so we need to break the barrier down and create that link so that we can invest this. Hopefully the parents will feel that the investment of buying and paying for the lessons is worth it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, that those children who may be singing the choir but they don't play an instrument they don't stop once they get to the end of year six. They carry on when they go to year seven. So yeah, we're working on it. It's not there yet, but we are working on it.
And you're also a lead school, aren't you? So do you think that's going to put you in a good position for kind of helping yourself and other schools to create those links?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, yes, we're really lucky. We were given lead school status with Norfolk and Suffolk Music Hub last year, and yeah, we that has been really really helpful in just being able for me to be able to contact more schools, because I had already made links with a couple, but we've been able to broaden that net. And we had a network meeting last week actually, and that was for the primary music leads, and that was really nice. And I wanted it to be in person, for us all to have a good chat about what works, what what do our challenges, what barriers have we got, what can we offer each other, so we were talking in the end about these large scale projects that we might be able to do, and the hub are very behind supporting those. So yeah, so it's been lovely to be part of the process of being able to support fellow colleagues.
Oh, it must be really rewarding, especially when you're doing so much amazing stuff in your school, to feel like, you can then reach out to other schools and support them as well with their development.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about. We all do such a good job on our own, but we are on our own, and you often feel that maybe you could do more, and actually you speak to people, and actually everybody's doing as many amazing things, and it's like, this is great, this is really good to know. You feel like, well, I'm not on my own. We are all on the same, we're on the same page. We're on the same mission to bring joy to these children's lives through music. So yeah, it's a privilege. It really is.
So you're doing lots already, but what are your plans for the future? What's on your wish list? What things are you hoping to do in addition to all the amazing
Oh,
stuff you already do?
oh gosh, I've got a whole host of things. I really want to develop an EAL program that will support our EAL children with learning language through music. There's a school locally who have got quite a success story in doing a similar thing. So I'd really like us to try and bring that into the curriculum. And further afield, I again just create lots of projects for the children. I try and get something for every year group every year, so that they're involved in something, and just to keep at that, keep creating opportunities in the community. We'd also like to set up a community choir at the church, so that we can bring in not just our children, but children from other schools, to be part of that. So, oh my gosh, there are so many things. My action plan is lengthy. And I
You're
was
talking
told,
yourself into a 7 day a
oh,
week
I
job
know.
here.
Oh, I do. Oh, I do. I'm terrible. I always, somebody will say something, I think, oh, we could do that. Oh, that's a good idea. So, yeah, yes, but I have to learn. I do. This is one thing I must do. I must learn to say no, because I'm not very good at that.
I mean,
Can you
I
do
could come back
something?
and check in a year's time, but I know that you won't have learnt that skill, Claire,
No,
already.
no, I won't. I won't, not at all. But then it's all for the children. So, it's like, well, if we've been invited to do this, well, surely we must try, try and make it work. But yeah, we just keep going. We just keep going. We keep making music. Keep bringing joy and having lots of fun at the same time. So,
Oh, well, what a fantastic sentiment to end this episode
oh,
on.
thank
I've
you.
really enjoyed chatting to you. Good luck with all of the additional things that you're going to end
Thank
up
you.
doing.
Thank you. I'll send you a
um,
list.
and yes, just thank you again for your time and for being on Primary Music in Conversation, Claire Gower.
Thank you so much, Liz.
Goodness me, Claire's a busy woman. I was really interested to hear about her orchestra, because that's something that I think is still relatively unusual in primary schools. It's a real challenge, especially if you're not a specialist. And clearly, obviously, Claire's got all that specialism to draw on and using those pieces that she mentioned from BBC 10 Pieces as well. So it's really nice to know that those things can happen. I think we shouldn't get overexcited and think that they're going to happen in every school, because not all schools have a specialism, not all schools have that number of children learning instruments in order to kind of make an orchestra viable. But where it's happening, it's fantastic to see. And also the way that the curriculum is being designed to take into account all of those different cultural groups, all the different languages in the school. Really interesting stuff. We talked a little bit, as you will have heard, about the curriculum, the national curriculum, and it's something that I've asked the majority of my guests on this season, just for their kind of thoughts around what they hope to see from the curriculum. We obviously had the curriculum consultation, but for those of you who filled that out will know it wasn't very subject specific. It did ask a lot of questions that were sort of English and maths related, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity, I felt, to feed in stuff that was specific to music. So the review has come out, obviously, and the government has accepted it and responded to it on the same day. They've now appointed the panels that they know are going to be drafting this curriculum. And I think now is the time for us all to really be having these conversations around, okay, so you've got the bones of it, you've got the kind of main consultation findings around the curriculum in general, but now what you need is to hear from lots and lots of teachers up and down the country about what's actually going to work in a subject specific way. So I'm hoping that some of the conversations we've had this season on primary music and conversation are going to be helpful towards that. I will obviously be blogging and writing articles about this probably until we see a new curriculum, because it's something that, you know, really interests me and something that I feel I want to make comment on. And also, if you are going to be joining us at one of our curriculum music conferences this year, we're going to have some discussion sessions around this, and we're going to take the details of those, and we're going to make sure that that all gets fed in as well. We'll make sure that we publish that in some way and pass that on, so that the people who are drafting the curriculum can have a real range of views and can see what would work for lots of schools. I can't promise that it's going to make any difference, but I'm definitely going to try. And we're going to get your views out there. So even if you're not able to join one of those events, so we've got one coming up in Scunthorpe. That'll have happened actually by the time we've gone out. So your next opportunity will be, let's see, 1st of July in Suffolk, actually, interestingly, having spoken to a Suffolk school today. But if you haven't been able to be part of those conversations, or you can't join us in Suffolk, please do have a chat with us. We're always really interested to hear how you find the podcast anyway, but also specifically around curriculum. If you've got thoughts around how you would like to see the new national curriculum shaped, please do send them to us. You can get to us on socials at Music Ed Solution or Music Education Solutions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Or you can contact us through our website, which is musiceducationsolutions.co.uk. Genuinely, we would really love to hear from you if you're interested in writing something more extensive about your views about curriculum, or indeed any kind of primary music. We have Primary Music Magazine. We're always looking for submissions for that. The summer term issue, we would love to have some new voices in there. So there's lots of opportunities for you to get in contact with us and to share your views, including, you know what I'm going to say now, season 4 of Primary Music Conversation. We will be starting to record that at the beginning of the summer term, releasing as usual in the week after half term. We are now looking for guests. If you would like to come and talk to me about how you do music in your school, then please do get in touch with me again through our contact form on our website, which is musiceducationsolutions.co.uk. We would absolutely love to hear from you. We'd like to thank the National Youth Choir for supporting this episode of Primary Music in Conversation. Supercharge is a brand new set of free and easy to use digital resources from the leading vocal experts at National Youth Choir. They are designed to support you to help your class discover the joy of singing together. If you're looking for free digital resources to help you supercharge your school choir, visit nationalyouthchoir.org.uk/supercharge to find out more. Primary Music in Conversation is presented by Dr. Liz Stafford, edited by Kay Charlton, and produced by Music Education Solutions.